Okay. Intro time. It's kind of get a bit tiring when you do the intro every single day.
You might need to change it up like every episode.
True. Or, I hope someday someone else can do the opening for me.
So how is everybody doing today?
Okay, sure, you want to try being the host for the day?
Oh, this is a bit last minute. I'm sorry. I need a bit of like mental preparation for this.
It's okay. I'm just throwing it out there. Anyways, hello everybody. Welcome back to the 5th episode of the Let Us Tell You podcast. I am here, Aza, and together with Aza and Lazarus. And today we have a special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm Cazz, and I serve as a project manager, editor, and production all-around person for Merryweather Media.
Good stuff. Let's go.
So yeah, we are really happy to have Cazz to be on board for the podcast for the day, because there's I was really surprised when I first met Cazz, was that I did not expect there was actually a Malaysian person working at Merryweather Media, which was currently going really big because of Shoujo. So yeah, so you say you're currently a project manager at Merryweather Media. So how does that actually work?
So the thing is, right, I actually have like a kind of multiple hats, and my role at the studio has evolved over the years because I don't know, like, do you want me to like explain how the actual like job works, or you want to me to go like into my history, because I handle more than just like regular project management at this point?
Oh no, this is a place for you to say everything you want to.
Okay,
you can start however you want. No
okay,
problem.
sure. Let's so I'll just start with the basics. So project manager, right? Basically, we handle so what we do at Merryweather Media is that we have to we divide our work into two groups. Internal, which is the stuff that we write and get the art done and get everything prepped from start to end. It's all us, maybe with one or two collaborators in terms of the writing, but everything writing wise is handled by Mary, funded by Mary, our studio owner and head, and it goes up on our various social media platforms. It goes up on Webtoon, or it goes up on YouTube, and that's the internal projects. And I make sure that there, for the internal ones, there's a script assigned to whichever artist is the strongest at drawing for whatever story Mary has written, unless it's an ongoing series or mini series and we've already assigned that, then it's just okay, just make sure the artist gets it, because we do a lot of one-offs though, so sometimes it's okay, who would suit that sort of thing? Are they busy? Can they do it? Then we have the external projects, which we've only started really doing middle of last year in 2021. It's 2022 when we're recording this. So the external projects, a lot of client communication happens on my side. So I'm the one who usually I get brought in when if Mary likes the project idea that a prospective client comes to them with, and if I tell him after check with him, I say, okay, yeah, fine, we have time in the schedule to take something on based on their timeline, deadline, or whatever, because people usually come to us and they expect it for an event, and it's very hard to move things around. So it's is your production schedule going to clash with ours? I'm okay, fine, no, and your story is great, and you're all right as a client, we can take you in. So I'm the one who's okay, tell me what you want, and draw out all this information from them. So then I'm also making some of the decisions as to okay, who can we assign this to? Obviously with the support of Mary and Kari, our other art director, who's also my partner. And then it's just every single stage of the project I have some oversight over. I'm not an artist, so I'm not really qualified to say a lot of things about the art technical side, but I know enough to be able to support the artists who are actually working on things if the main art director or the main artist can't give directions for that sort of thing. I started out doing editing and lettering, so I also have some input in terms of the script, in terms of scripts that get given out, whether we need to like adjust them so that they flow better, or like they're not really up to client spec, but we can just send it anyway and see if they like it. Or and then because of like my lettering background, when the final when the project like sort of comes to an end, and sometimes we have like things like text and stuff, I look over that sort of thing and make sure that like it's like so well designed and aligned and stuff like that, because you don't do web comics without like speech balloons at the very least. But we don't just do comics, we've like sort of branched out into story video, lore video, story video, so like animatics in that sense. So it's a lot. And also billing, that's my wheelhouse.
Oh wait, you're in charge of billing also?
I make sure that the clients give money. I make sure that the artists get paid, and make sure that documentation's up to date. So yeah, so I say project manager, I say editor, I say letterer, and production, whatever. But I handle a bunch of like things over here. That's what happens when you've got a small studio of people wearing different hats.
Wait, when you say small studio, like how many are there in Merryweather Media?
Okay, so I haven't warned you that Merryweather Media started out as just one Danish fella who really just wanted to make comics, regardless of whether he earned money or not. And he was just regularly commissioning a bunch of different artists with whatever he could. And the money he like got from eventually making money from comics or like his job, he just put it back to going back to the same artist like over and over again. And now we have, okay, so let me just count in terms of like sort of like management / admin side, it's like, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 of us, although we each handle like different areas of it. So like there's the Singapore registered side, there's the Japan registered side, and there's someone who handles our conventions. We have in terms of artists, let's see, maybe like just low double digits, like just over 10-ish, like regular, and sometimes we have like the ad hoc person. But yeah, we're very fortunate to be able to pay this many people like a regular sort of salary at this point. Offer like regular ongoing work to them at this point. So
I can say it's about like less than 20, right?
I would say less than 20, like regular. Regular contract people, and then like the other, we have the odd ad hoc like arrangement with like other people we need to commission like assets from, or like assistance work and stuff like that, because it all depends on the projects that we get or the projects we want to do. And
going back and see how like Merryweather really just started out this as sort of like a passion project in the very beginning. Like he just wants to, because we all know him as the guy who just create story and get a couple of artists to draw out the story. So starting from that to where you guys are right now, it's actually pretty cool, because having to start with something small and able to expand on it, it's like it's probably a dream for a lot of people to be able to achieve.
Yeah, and it pretty much was a case of like like this whole thing, like being a company, was sort of like almost accidental. At this point, it was basically like, holy crap, I have there's actually quite a lot of like money going in and out, and I suppose like taxes would probably be an issue, but I can't like think about how to best handle this, and then just went like looks to like some of us existing people who are already like helping work on, because I originally assisted in terms of like lettering. Like it was my partner Carlos who was hired and like was working on an ongoing art for a series for Mary at first, because we were both discovered from webcomic work. I didn't join until later, because like Mary realized that, hey, I have an eye for some things like lettering, and also like I seem to like provide Kari a lot of the technical support on that end. So he was like, do you want to come in and like help like gussy things up? And one of the first things that I handled, other than the short like one-off comics, just to show a difference, was Winter Moon, which was the first published series on the syndicated like serialized series on Webtoon that he did. And he was like, oh wow, okay, so better lettering really like changes the look of things, because if some people remember what Winter Moon looked like and then they go onto the Webtoon website now and look at how it's different, they're like, oh yeah, it like feels a little bit more polished. I sound like I'm bragging, but
I mean, it's your job to make it look nice, so of course it has to look nice, right?
yeah, the funny thing is that, right, I actually like recently, because of the amount of project work that we've gotten, I haven't had the chance to like be in the trenches with the lettering, as it were. So like I've actually make that 6 now who like, you know, are, I mean, in the not quite art side of things. So like I have a production assistant and also like the other letterer in this company, so they've also been helping me to handle like a lot of things, which is great. Shout out to Eli, we love you.
Oh, let's go,
Okay.
Eli.
I'm gonna put their Twitter link on top of the video, so you guys can, you know, just go ahead and follow them. I remember when I first go across Merryweather stuff. We hardly ever pay attention to. It's only all about the artist and then the story, but we never actually know about the background of how things start off. So knowing that you are there to be able to support or be like sort of these pillars to make this come true, it's always a underappreciated part of the work. So I hope us giving you this platform here would let you talk a lot more about what you do. Because also I remember right now what you're doing is a lot more on the behind the scenes stuff, right? At the moment.
Pretty much. Like I have I mean, even if I've like, you know, written the odd script as well, like I've handled some stuff for Bishoujo and some client like scripts. That's still pretty behind the scenes because it's not like up front and center. Like, I mean, if there's no artist, it doesn't happen.
Yeah. Awesome. So the main reason we brought you on is because we have a lot of questions from our co-host and the host itself. So yeah, let's just gonna start things off with the first question, and from there we just the other co-hosts will have a lot of questions. So my question is, how did you start, and were you approached by Merryweather or anything? But I think you talked a bit about that already.
Yeah, sure,
But
no problem.
Let's just say before you joined Merryweather, what were you doing?
Oh, okay. So here's the thing, right? There are 2 phases to my time at Merryweather. There is the part-time phase and the full-time phase. So we'll have to like rewind quite a bit. Before like I was even involved in Merryweather at all, I was actually a NEET for a bit.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I had just graduated university in the UK, and that was during a very troubling time in my life. Like it took me 3 tries to get my final year out of the way. Let's put it that way. But I survived, got the degree in hand. Couldn't get a job in the UK because Brexit was happening. It was very hard for companies to hire people from abroad. So we decided, like, you know, my parents and I decided, okay, let's just come home and like chillax a bit. And for me to recover as much as it was for me to like do job hunting. So I had, by that time I'd been familiar with the streaming platform Picardo, which was before Twitch. That was the place to go to for creatives, and it was really small. And like my real life friend was there as well, and she introduced me to a bunch of different people. And one of which actually ended up being Kari, and like I would just hang out with a bunch with like these peeps. Like while they were doing art, I would like be doing things. I'd be talking to them, like getting in a big deeper understanding about like how it is for people in art, specifically anime art. So I was just basically like recovering and like, you know, being human again, like sort of developing that sort of like knowledge and interest. And then Kari, in the middle of 2017, decides to start a webcomic. It's called Exco. It is currently not running because we unfortunately no longer have the time to do it. But you'll start to see a pattern there. But it's actually Gijinka school supplies and stationery, like, you know, fighting each other in a badass manner, and then they've got like their own masters, almost like Fate Grand Order. Or, like,
I think I heard of this.
Yeah, so
I've read it. Yeah.
So Exco started in 2017, the middle of 2017, and by then I was sort of like a semi-regular on like Kari's like stream hangouts, and he did the first chapter, looked for feedback. Everyone was like, oh my god, that's like really nice for like a first ever webtoon episode. I went there and I just went, Kari, my background isn't in like art or like fiction, but why do your characters all sound like they speak in the same voice? And why does your lettering like look all over the place? And he went, oh. And so that was my like, accidental like drop into webcomics in general. So I just started as he developed the story and got better, and he decided to keep coming back to me for some reason for feedback, and I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And I was like, shit, I have to actually like know my stuff. So I actually got I actually got a little bit better at the lettering side of things, and also like the story side of things for it, and like character voice as well. So I got better at that. So I was needing, and then I was doing like a few other various like jobs. So I was like a research assistant for a bit, and then I was still temporarily like I was still helping like Kari. Yeah, it's a passion thing, and then he gets scouted by Mary. He leaves his job, and I was like, "Oh yeah, woo! I mean, good for you." And I'm still like working on things for him. Then Mary starts taking notice of like the stuff I do on the Exco webcomic, and then like says, "Hey, do you want to like help out a little bit here and there for like this sort of thing?" And still doing the research assistant stuff. And then eventually, right, like I decided like to leave the research assistant position and like for a different like office job, which was with a family friend. Around like the same time the pandemic started.
I think I can see where this is going.
The pandemic started. No, I actually still had that job. Like the job was secure. Like we all just like just changed to work from home and all of that. But I was at a very weird crossroads where my I was not enjoying the stuff that was happening at the office job because they were not able to like, make use of me properly, but yet had some expectations that just didn't seem to be communicated in the right way. And I also, for my part, at the time also wasn't sure how to ask them. Meanwhile, the creative side of like my side hustles were like flourishing. And Mary around this time started to ask me, hey, do you want to like, come on and do stuff full time? And I took quite a while because I didn't want to like just drop whatever I was doing with the family friend. You know how it is, maintaining relationships. So there I was going to work like, every day, like sort of sitting in traffic with my mom together because it was the same like company, like 8-ish to like, 6-ish, or like, I would be either traveling related to work or like in work, and then coming back and then taking dinner, and then just like, trying to like do up all this like creative stuff. So I was burning the candle at both ends for a number of years. Like it wasn't as bad when I was a research assistant, but it was still pretty like Pandemic made it easier, but then once we started going back to the office middle of the year in the pandemic, I was just like, I don't know. I don't want to like just ditch this, but at the same time, I don't think I'm being paid enough to like to do like this much work. Like I could be doing like, earning more for like doing stuff that I actually really enjoy. Mm-hmm. So after my year was up with the, after like I finished a full year with the family friend, I said, no, I want to go and like do this. So yeah, I did full-time Merryweather stuff in 2021. And that was it actually like, he brought me on saying like, you want to like, do the management stuff with me. And it was trial by fire, but here we are now.
Whoa.
Yeah, here we are now pretty much. So long windy road, really weird, and it's not as straightforward, and I know I probably rambled quite a bit, but
no. Like it's always this happy little accidents that makes talks like this super interesting.
Yeah,
I mean, if you just went and say, oh, I applied for the job and I got the job, it's like, all right, then what's the point of telling the whole story? So having
yeah.
a long, windy road, it's always like a very interesting thing of how things go.
So yeah, no, I did. So I didn't apply for it, and it's nice in a way to sort of be like, hey, someone recognizes like what that you have something there, and it was the reason I say it's trial by fire is because I think in hindsight, Mary saw something that I didn't necessarily see in myself, and I wanted to like live up to that, but we didn't know how best to like make sure like I fit in like with the expectations. So, if anything, right, it's sort of like knowing like when like they always talk about, oh yeah, you should know when to say no, when like and when to push back and find like a compromise, because you don't want to like be saying yes to everything because you think it's expected of you, but like useful things to live by for anyone in any job, not just like the stuff that I do. So it took me a while to learn those sorts of things, and it was definitely like rough at times, but we like I think all of us in the studio have just gotten to a point where we pretty much understand each other a lot more now, because like I can happily say I was working with Mary before the studio was formally established as a proper studio / company. So yeah.
Yeah, I was one of the OGs here.
Yeah.
I'm not OG enough, but I'm sort of like the last few years of OG before like he decided to like trust me and Kari and a few others enough to like take his like dream of like keeping this alive in his hands and like going even further and like make it happen with him. So yeah,
it's old enough to be one of the OG, young enough to be pampered by the OG.
I would say some of the artists that we have like Osimi and Minster and Mayui and Peach are more OG than I am personally. Like a lot of people in the studio are artists that Mary has known for a good number of years. Like or I mean, and we don't like sort of hire / bring new people in easy for like because obviously like cost is a reason, but because if you get on well with someone, you kind of want to like make sure you keep that working relationship. You want to keep like coming back to them. So
yeah.
Knowing that, it's also really incredible that you were personally invited by Mary to literally work full time in this company. It's actually like really, really cool that you started off doing something completely different, and now you've ended up in an industry where you actually flourish in, where people actually respect the work that you do, and people pay you enough for the work that you do as well. It's amazing, honestly.
Yeah. I do
Power
agree.
to connections, because connections are kind of like this. If you know someone, you get it. It's kind of like how me and Merryweather work out. Basically, this how this podcast happened was like someone who is working under or helping around with Beats Media or Merryweather, like asked me like, hey, you want to try talking to them and see if they will want you in. So the power of the connections, I managed to get this podcast to run also. So hey, get to know more people. Everyone get to know more people. No time to be introverted.
Oh no, or it's just like slightly easier for you because you don't have to like go out and like cold call people in that sense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just be a good friend. Then you get to meet good people.
That's actually like I could say that's pretty much how I got to like how I got to where I was today. Not just in terms of like the how I got my position, but more like how I managed to like at least keep the circle of people that I know and can like sort of call on for stuff. So like a lot of the people who I was with like during the Picardo era of like art and stuff, a lot of them have sort of moved on and progressed to like other cool things. So like there are a number of people who are also like contracted webtoon creators. There are a number of them who are now full-time like freelance artists, and they also like jumped into the VTuber scene when it was like flourishing and stuff. And I'm like, oh man, I'm proud to know them. And some of them have actually like done professional work for like what Azure Lane, Arc Knights, or whatever. They got quite a few. I also knew one of them who ended up like rising somewhere pretty good in OLM Asia when they established a branch in Malaysia before he decided to quit to do his own thing. And he had no background in animation, but he's just a really cracked artist. He just picked it up and suddenly, oh hey, I know somebody who worked on like this show and that show and that.
You
But
just
yeah.
get to know more good people. It's one of
Yeah.
the great things.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate in that respect.
Oh, okay. So, based on your Twitter, you mentioned that you're an editor, and you also mentioned that you started out a little bit of like with doing a bit of editing with Merryweather in general. So,
Mhm.
do you think you could let us know if you've spotted any stark differences between, let's say, like editing for novels or web articles, and editing comics? Because all I know about editing text in general is just like fixing like text and whatnot. But in comics, where there's like more of a visual aspect, do you think there's like any stark difference?
That's actually a very good question, and let's preface this with the fact that my background isn't actually in fiction. I would not consider myself a super strong like fiction writer slash editor. Also, writing and editing are like two different skills. Like just because you can write doesn't mean you can edit, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so but
Wow.
my background's mostly in like journalism, and that's not even a formalized background. Oh wow, okay, sorry. So editing novels, yeah, you need to pay attention to a lot more of like the the descriptive language used, because you don't have the visuals to like conjure an image for you in terms of like how something looks or how something like or like the actions that are going on. So I would say that is definitely a major difference. But in terms of like how are the stories structured,
Mm-hmm.
at a baseline level, if we don't look at the episodic or like chapterish format, that's not too much difference to that. Like the rules, the basic rules of like good story structure and like and writing still apply to both. Whether the medium is just different, and then obviously novels require a little bit more like actual like language wrangling compared to a comic. But not to say that the comic that it's not important to like have a strong hold on character voice in the comic as well. Like I've read comics where the art's great, the pacing's great, like the story is like pretty solid, but the character personality just gets let down by the dialogue. And that to me, and it's not easy. There's so many things you have to juggle whenever you're like creating a story. That's why they say writing like takes so much out of you. I don't think there's any like easy writing about like for me, like I can say that my strong point when it comes to editing most things is that I can make characters sound like believable enough and real enough and distinct enough from each other. So a smug like but wounded inside kind of character like and sassy is not going to sound the same as like a lazier like go with the flow kind of person. And at least I'm able to make sure that the language they use is more distinct, and that's my strength. Like it's not for the case for other people. However, other people are probably better at like doing the story structure and events and like figure out some motivations than I am. For editing comics, right? I'd say that you don't need to be an artist to know how to edit comics. Controversial, haha.
No, I mean, I agree.
You do, however, right? Like I think at a baseline level, if you can sort of like say like what is off about something and a little bit of why it might be off, or like you don't have to go into it too technically, because sometimes it is slightly the artist's job to figure out like why this is off. But that's no different to like a good like beta reader or reviewer, basically. And it's far nicer than probably the random people in your comment section. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, true.
And I'm a little bit like picky with myself in the sense that if I tell my artist that something is off, I usually want to be able to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel weird about saying this looks weird and just leaving it at that. Like this looks weird, change it. I want to be able to say like this looks weird. It might be because of like because like you structured the panel like this earlier, but then it suddenly jumps to this view and it doesn't flow very well. And how exactly to fix it, the artist can maybe ask me for suggestions, and I may or may not be able to give them. But yeah, I'd say that it's a lot easier for me in terms of the comics I edit, because we do more of the webcomic webtoon stuff, so it's more like the simpler 4-panel type. as opposed to like, oh, it has to be on a page, and you have to like have a lot more consideration with comics that are drawn for page layouts where you actually flip a physical book, because like where you put the page turn is quite important too. You don't want to like put it in the middle of a really like,
intense scene.
Yeah. You can, depends on whether like, it's a nice payoff kind of reveal. Like if it's a Cliffy that pays off really well on the page flip, sure. You don't want to like interrupt it in the middle of like a particular like moment where you need things to build up. Stuff like that.
I see. That's really interesting.
Yeah. That's why when I was editing Exco for print, like it went from webtoon to print, it was hell, because I was the one who was actually like, deciding where all the panels, like, when and where the page breaks were. It wasn't Kari, it was me. And I just went back to him and went, Kari, you need to redraw this panel a little bit, because you're missing like, gaps when I put it in the layout. Or Kari, this bit had not enough like, artwork. You just like left it as blank, like which works blank with like speech balloons, which works in webtoons, but it doesn't work in print. You need to do this. So I regrettably do not have as much experience editing comics for print as I would like, but that can change eventually. So, because Merryweather, we put out some print versions of our comics, and I've noticed a few things, but depends on like how much time you have, and like some things you just sort of like close one eye because it's quote unquote good enough. Yeah.
I see. It definitely helps to have like, when you have feedback, it helps to actually go into like why such and such is like why you feel like there's a problem with it, rather than just saying, oh, like I don't like this, and then not really elaborating on it, or not really giving any suggestions to help. So this definitely is like you mentioned, it's a lot better than just getting like random criticism from comments.
Yeah.
Like there's some people who are like, oh, like this is great regardless of the issues with it, or there's some people who are just nitpicking on like the little things and not really giving any feedback on it. So this is like, wow. This is a lot to like take in. Yeah.
Because when Cazz like explained like about giving extra feedback other than saying what such and such is not good, it just came to me like you probably make a really good teacher. Because we really lack those back when I studied like illustration back in college, so most of our lecturers just go like, oh, this looks bad, fix it.
Do you feel like a lot of artists like are taught like to do by feel, this sort of thing?
Okay, so because a lot of our lecturers, sure, they do go like, oh, this looks bad, fix it. But the way of them handling it is they don't do it by words. What they did was they would take our drawings, they create a new layer and draw it on both. And then as they're like trying to fix it on the spot and tell us, do it something like this. So I came to the point where it's just like, I guess they're just bad at talking.
Yeah, I kind of do agree, and I have to say, right, like as much as my personal like ethos is to have a why for like do something in this way or that way, it also kind of is a sort influence of Kari, because he himself is also an artist who works that way. Not every artist does. And sometimes like I find myself throwing up reference images to illustrate what I mean. Or like with some people I can just like, give them text like feedback about like what's wrong and why, like in my opinion. Or I say wrong, but sometimes maybe I don't necessarily catch the initial intent, and then it's clarified to me that, hey, it's actually intended to be a bit like this because of that. I'm like, oh, okay, then keep the direction that you went in. Edits are not just I tell them they do this and they fix it. It's actually a two-way thing. They come back to me and say, hey, I did it like this because of that, but we can change it if it's not so good. And then I'm like, I think about it for a minute. I think about whether it's going to affect a lot of things down later on if things are confusing. I think about the time we have, because yes, we do work to deadlines. And then I think of like how much. I think about like how much impact it will have if I make the change, or I force them to make the change, and then like I make a decision that later on then. And it's not just me who like provides this sort of thing. Like obviously, Merry is the creator of his stories, and while he might not have like the strongest like visual idea of like how they might look, at the end of it, like when he finally sees the sort of semi-finished product, he can see whether it conveys enough of what he was after or not. So he also has a say in this sort of thing. And then I can sometimes explain to him, like, from the artist's point of view, why what they're doing possibly works, but doesn't necessarily fit what he imagined. And actually might sell it better than he thinks. And yeah, it's a very, like, you know, a collaborative process for all of us. So yeah.
It's pretty crazy. Like, you get the perspective of, like, say, a consumer from the artist and from the original writer of the story as well. That's pretty cool.
Also, the fact that Carrie listens to your opinions, even though you don't exactly have a illustration or an art background, really does shows that how much she trusts your opinions. That's nice. That's really nice to know.
Well, I mean, Kari, and there are some, like, I don't say the same for like other artists, but Kari and some other people, I've been blessed that they're like a bit more open-minded and willing to like say, hey, you know, it's feedback that's being presented in a way that is on my side, not against me. And it's something that I don't always consider as an artist because, like, you know, when you're so focused on doing stuff, you like sort of tunnel vision slightly, and that's normal. It happens to everyone. Even I also sometimes go like, hey, I've already finished my lettering, but I'm really not sure. I need like a second opinion on this. And sometimes like my other letterer as well, Eli, will just come in and go, hey, like we can move it to here and there. So it's all good. It can be hard though, like obviously if you don't get feedback delivered in a way that looks after your fees, because come on, everyone has, you know, feelings towards the work. It also can be hard if people are saying this looks bad, but then they don't tell you why it looks bad and you're trying to find a way to fix it and you keep changing it and then like, no, you're just not getting it. Maybe it's like, and then they say something like, maybe it's just like not gonna work out. And it's like, you're trying here, but you don't get much info to go off on, and they're just going to write you off. Why?
It can be really frustrating.
But then,
sorry.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to ask, like, you know, because like in I've heard of stories like, you know, in Dragon Ball, the manga last time, apparently for like one of the arcs, the Android arc, that the editors, because of like what the feedback was presented to Akira Toriyama, the author, it's like they intended it to be like just the two androids to be the main antagonists, Dr. Gero and Android 19. Afterwards, then the feedback from the editors, like, you know, oh no, it's not they're not, it's not sufficient. You need like a bigger stakes and stuff like that, or different villains. So it actually got him to change like the antagonist like twice till the final antagonist of the arc, which is Cell. I'm not sure if you guys know Dragon Ball, but like what I'm trying to say is that like how often like you know, like out of like editorial discussions, how often do big changes like these happen?
Like I have to say that I don't necessarily majorly push for a lot of things because Mary is very self-directed in how he wants his story to go. I think if you're like working at a big unit at Jump, then where the stakes are a little bit higher and like maybe people are a little bit more opinionated, and then in terms of like editors, like maybe they think that this is going to sell better than that as an arc, then I can see that sort of thing happen. I would say that maybe these more major changes happen more on the client projects in terms of like the direction to go to, because for the long, more drawn out things, right? I don't personally have a very strong opinion on like, you know, who should be doing this or why, like for Mary's own stories. I used to have a bit more of an opinion on that for like Exco when it was being actively made. But it's a little bit of a special case, and maybe people are like, oh, you could stand to like, you know, have a bit of more of an opinion on this sort of thing. But I'm like, no, I personally trust Mary and his decisions on like who should like do this in terms of a characterization and why. But the only way I know like what he may need a bit of shoring up on, and that's like certain like things that are being said by the characters, and that if it's like slightly stilted, because because like sometimes even native speakers, right, we can write something and it looks fine when you read it, but then when you sort of think about, is it natural as a spoken thing?
Yeah.
No, not quite. I do try to edit with those in mind.
All right. So like
I mean, in the end, if it's client work, it's like you have to listen to the client most of the time.
Yeah.
yeah, but for from what I hear, so it's like the way you view editing is more like the execution rather than the whole
Storytelling
writing
part,
of the
or-
whole thing.
Yeah, so
Sorry.
I
sorry.
mean, like a lot of we always have a saying here is that there's nothing really quote unquote fully original anymore. It's just
Yeah.
execution of similar or same things has just changed over the years, and it's just down to you to find like your best way to do it. And yeah, you're right. Like I
Yeah.
mean, your plot may not necessarily be like super groundbreaking, but if your execution is like top notch and polished and memorable, then and it works, people will buy it, or
Mhm.
people will
Agreed.
consume it if you're like posting it
Agreed.
on free platform,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like battle shonen manga can only go so epic and intense, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty much like a similar, like similar kind of like journey to like increase your power and
Yeah.
get your have the friendships along the way kind of thing, and
Yeah.
and the ever like increasing challenge of the author to prevent power creep. when Oh man,
Which usually doesn't end up
Yeah,
well because it
indeed.
always ended up power creeping.
well, that's the thing, right? I sometimes feel it's because like some of these stories go a little bit too long.
Yeah.
And I understand because hey, it's a story that's really working well. It's selling copies. It's making money. You want to prolong that for as long as possible, but at the same time, if you do like you sort of like milk it too dry, and then like the impression that you leave behind once it starts like falling off, it's just like, oh no, it went downhill, and then that's something that kind of like you kind of find it very hard to recover from.
Yeah.
It's better to like have a solid like goal and end in mind with your story and not feel like
Yep.
compelled to extend it
Yep,
regardless of how well it's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I think that's what Demon Slayer did.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, short answer to like how much power I have as an editor. Not as much as people think, because I, for my personally, want to respect like the creative decisions of the artist and the writer as much as possible. Like I feel like my goal is just to like support and help like polish it. My job is not to like assert myself on it.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Which and like I know that there are some editors out there that they are like that, and that's not really my personal style. Like I think like it depends though, whether like because of like how much control you have over the publication. Because I mean, everyone says that if everything goes well, the glory goes to the writer and the artist. If everything goes to the shit, everyone like goes to the editor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess we're like fortunate in the sense that we don't have to like worry too much about like whether like if it's going to shit, like I am like mostly like responsible and all that. Like I do try and like mention like, hey, I'm not sure how I feel about this like upcoming art. It's feeling a little bit long and stuff. Like sometimes even the artists will tell like who work on series will tell Mary like, hey Mary, this thing is dragging on a little bit. I'm not like really enjoying it anymore. And Mary is a special case in that he takes into account what the artist wants.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise they are going to burn out.
Oh yes.
I'll give you like a quick example, right? So like Everywhere and Nowhere, I don't want to like go into much like without making anyone seem bad, but then there are a number of like visual changes and like plot arcs in Everywhere and Nowhere, which is also another series they can read on Webtoon. Oh yeah, and it's also like drawn by Peach, who's also a Malaysian artist, pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a number of like visual changes and story like story direction like decisions that were actually made with Peach in mind. Because he like wasn't enjoying some certain bits of it, or like sometimes even artists would be like, my god, we've not had any waifus to draw for a while now, can we move back to that? And Mary will be like, okay, let's find a way to tie this up nicely, and then we go back to bringing the cute girls in.
Oh, that's cool. It's really nice that Mary actually goes out of his way to like prevent burnout, kind of like for the artists that work on his work as well. But as well as, I mean, for artists it's very common to like go through burnout. But what about you as somebody who works in the corporate field, somebody who works as a freelancer and also doing your own projects, like as a writer, as an editor, as a project manager? Do you personally go through like bouts of burnout, and how do you usually cope with it?
Oh yeah, I definitely have gone through burnout. I mean, I'd say like I'd say that I sort of like burnt out, like sadly, like I was sort of semi burnt out before I started being with Mary full time,
Mm.
like trying to figure out like how to like cope with like going from a job that was supposed to have a bit more structure, like because that's like what most like salary jobs are, to being in what's essentially like a semi ground up SME. Like I mean, I just use SME because like it's probably the closest thing that people can like think about. Um yeah, where you have to wear like multiple hats, and there's no like, I mean, buddy who tell you like right or wrong until like, oh, I don't like what you decided on. And yeah, it just felt like getting thrown in the deep end. So I was burned out like a couple of times in between there. And then realizing that, you know, you know what? It's actually okay to like take time out for myself to do the things that we say like, oh, if you have time to do this, you have time to work. That's been some bad habit of mine I've had for quite a long time.
It can be quite hard to like deal with as well when you have that kind of mindset. Yeah.
Because like delayed gratification is something that they teach you so that you don't like, spend all your time playing like League or something instead of like getting the important work done. But
Mhm.
I think I was going to the point where, right, I had to force myself to think, okay, fine. If I did work for like, these number of hours, even though that these things are still due, it can wait. I like rest and, I mean, recharging with all these like so-called frivolous things, whether it's a game or like lots of bad or good YouTube, or like even through your favorite news feed, not Twitter feed, news feed. All these things, they're sort of like vital for you to like, for your brain to like sort of get out of work mode and like sort of take in the world around yourself.
Yeah, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, so I mean, Kari and I went through like that sort of thing quite a bit, and we sort of like try to like keep each other in check now. It's like, hey, okay, you've like done too like a lot today. It's good time to stop. Unfortunately, when it comes to certain deadlines, we do like have run even more of a risk. So we try to prevent it by either having better planning so that we don't feel like we have to crunch closer to the deadline, or we do have to crunch a little bit, just making sure that we set aside at least a couple of hours to like do like a couple of wake hours to just like, watch a show together, or like, just like play something and all of that. That's that's my way of like doing it. Or sometimes we might just like play our own games, but then just be like, in call with each other and going like, okay, at least we are playing and not working.
That's true. It's really important to take breaks. Like not taking breaks could honestly lead to like so much more than just burnout. There are like physical repercussions that could go through not taking breaks. There's just so much around it.
Definitely, like I've seen people go through that. I've like been through that myself briefly. It was just more of like just slight like a lot of like tension and like muscle tightness and all that. Like I swapped from like thinking, oh, I had to wake up and then be at my computer and ready like start being in front of it the whole day every day. Which, I mean, I still am in front of it for quite a few hours, but a lot less so now. Like I decided to like have a few days where, okay, in the morning I get up, I actually go and like, go do some exercise, and might not even start work until after lunch. Because I work a little bit better like, I mean, till the evening or night. So I'm like, you know what? It's fine. I'll at least that's my schedule, like me time.
Like that's solid. Yeah, like knowing
Okay.
when you work best, knowing like all these things about yourself really helps with productivity. It really, really does.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and I know it feels like, oh my God, I'm like, spending so many hours in the morning and it's not on work. Everyone else is working. And I'm just like here, like, oh, just like, running a few errands for myself at the supermarket, or like going to get a few punches in from my like, Muay Thai instructor. And
Oh, Muay Thai? Damn! You do Muay Thai?
yeah, like I used to do taekwondo when I was much younger, and then like there's a Muay Thai like place near me now, so I decided, you know what, might as well like get some of that in.
Get
That's
that
good.
recreational activity in.
Go for some sports, man. Not just sit in front of the computer. Parents should be proud.
Cause like I hate like I hate running as cardio. That the people say that you should like walk or run more. And yes, walk more. I do agree, but it's a little bit hard to do it in my like my current like living conditions. So I'm like, okay, fine. Like I like boxing and Muay Thai as cardio because it's fun and you don't realize you've done it for an hour until like, oh, your hour's up. Oh, holy crap! You are winded and sweaty.
Ooh. That's pretty cool, man. Damn.
All right, so yeah, we're recording already. Is there anything that we can talk about first before we start?
Drugs. Nah.
Nah.
Okay, no. Let's just get it. Let's just get this out of the way.
here's-
Who of you hasn't had COVID yet?
Me.
Me.
Okay,
Are you going to talk about the experience of it?
No, I just wanted to see just wanted to ask because honestly, I think it depends on individuals as well. Like COVID might not be as bad. Like for me, in the past, I had a viral infection a few years back that was way worse than COVID.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
COVID is really just the whole. Do you have fever when you have COVID?
Not too much, I suppose. I didn't even bother checking the temperature, to be honest.
So
But did you feel hot? Not in
Well,
that
I mean,
sense, but you know what I mean.
I mean, he's always hot, right? Think about it.
I mean, we
Let
do
me- let
live
me-
in the
let me take a
tropics,
look at the mirror.
so
Well, it was a little bit warm in my head, but it was because it was
Ah.
mostly like a bit of like a headache on the first and second each day. But after that, I was fine already.
Chinese doctors will call that feeling heaty.
Yeah, that's
Oh.
why I didn't even bother like testing on the first day because I was saying, oh, it's probably just heat. Hey,
Yeah.
Oh.
yeah. Then when I had
So-
a call with my friends on night, it's like, oh yeah, I probably just go check that out. It might be COVID. Oh, okay, it was COVID.
Oh.
It's
Yeah.
pretty scary though, because like a lot of symptoms are like kind of different for everybody. So like, how can
Yeah.
you really decide
I
when you want to
think
test
the
this? You might as well just test all
most
the time.
common symptom is the dry cough
Mm-hmm.
or dry
Yeah.
throat.
I
Because a
see.
lot of times when I feel sick, I was like, wait, is my throat dry? No. Okay.
Yeah, because the dryness is one thing lah. Well, I had a lot of like phlegm, but it wasn't like the usual yellow phlegm for me. It was just like a lot of like white phlegm. So I think that's the dryness that contributed to that dryness. Of throat.
Oh, don't you just love the descriptiveness of this talk? You know, like
I mean-
we're getting there this early. Damn.
yeah, like I mean,
We all know what phlegm is.
Phlegm.
Okay, that's just.
So wait, okay. Now that we're on this topic, what is everyone's like, the most sick you have ever gotten?
I
Yeah.
don't know. It's a toss up, I suppose. Like, I have like obviously like I have a childhood memory of being sick enough to be hospitalized, and I
Oh,
have I
gosh.
mean, in my adulthood, I was not so much, but then it probably feels worse because if you're like alone and stuff, and you don't have your parents to like look after you when you're
that's
sick.
true.
So, in my childhood, I was hospitalized around the age of 8 for about a week. It was pneumonia. I think it was type A. I'm not exactly sure.
Huh.
Oh wow, pneumonia.
I had no idea how I got it. My parents had no idea how I got it. I just knew I was like throwing up very easily.
Is pneumonia kind of like hereditary? Sorry, I mean as in like passed down from generation. Is it one of those?
No,
right.
I
Did someone
don't.
fact check that? Because I remember I heard it somewhere. It might be.
No, it's like a viral infection.
Oh, it's a viral
through
infection.
bacteria, virus, or fungi.
Okay.
You may be more susceptible to it, but no.
Okay.
I see,
Thank
I
you,
see.
WHO.
Cool.
Question mark?
All right. So I think for me, it's when I was around. Oh, I remember I had it just during school holidays, so I was kind of safe there. I got dengue once.
Oh,
I
How was
did
that?
not. I did not get hospitalized, but I was. Yeah, you get fever. You're like quite like you're very weak and everything. The worst thing about it is I had to take like blood tests every single day because my white blood cells drop is like crazy. And then, but I was never hospitalized because when I was about to, my white blood cell starts to recover already. So they're like, all right,
wow.
it's fine. You don't need to hospitalize. But other than that, the worst one is during the final days where your whole body itches.
Huh?
Yeah.
itches?
It's a recovery symptom.
Oh wow.
They say it's like, because it's when all the virus like starts go like try to come out from your body already, so it will try to surface to your skin, so it feels very itchy.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That sounds like hell.
It's because that happens in the middle of the night, and I swear to God, you can't sleep.
You.
Yeah. So
How
that's
long
the
does it happen
worst.
for? Like is it for like hours or?
The whole night, lor. I remember like some 11 o'clock, and I was itching like mad. I had to wake my mom up and just ask like, Mom, I cannot already. So then thank God we have this like a medicine, like some sort of medicine that you just rub it around the body, and it's like, oh, it's fine.
It must be
Damn.
Chinese.
I'm not sure if it's a Chinese medicine, but it's I don't think it's a Chinese medicine. I
Oh, not
remember
the
rubbing
tiger
it, and
balm,
it's like
Okay.
it's like white color one, and then once you wake up in the morning, it's like dried up already. I know
Okay.
that sounds weird, but it's not that.
Not Vicks, right?
I'm not.
Oh,
sure.
is it calamine?
I'm not really sure. I don't remember. I was really young.
A vapor rub is nice though, like even if it
That's
wasn't it.
true.
Ah.
Yep.
It's soothing.
Soft kitty, warm kitty, little ball.
Oh my God, let's go!
Other than
Oh,
that,
Lord.
I have been hospitalized for a couple of reasons, but maybe can I talk about it?
Question mark?
Yeah.
I have
Why not?
Okay, so I have this ongoing issue since I was back in secondary school where I fainted in the toilet.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
Yeah, it happens like
sounds rough.
once. It happens like once in 3 months, and it's like I wake up in the morning. I have a crazy stomach pain. I went to
Oh
the
gosh.
toilet, and it hurts. And when I opened my eyes again, I was on the floor.
Oh gosh.
And this happened like once every 3 months, and it got to a problem where I injured myself. It was because I think I hit my head on the sink. You know the pipe at the bottom? They have sharp
Yeah.
edges. So one of those like scratch on across my face, and it's like inches, not even inches, millimeters away from my eye.
Oh,
So I think it was because of that. My parents was like, "We need to let you see the doctor." I went to see. We couldn't find a single problem. I went
Wow.
twice, couldn't find a problem.
Wow.
So
Is this
Did you
still
go
an
for,
issue
like, a
right now?
second opinion?
it's still an issue.
Oh,
Yeah, I
gosh.
went to 2 different doctors. Same thing. At first, I went for a digestive doctor. I forgot what's the term. After that, I went for a neuro doctor, which both does not seem to be the problem.
Wow.
So it wasn't
So-
like I mean fainting spells because of like brain activity, or it wasn't like did they find anything wrong with your gut?
No, nothing wrong with my gut. Nothing wrong with my brain. Nothing wrong with my nerves. Heartbeat, everything is normal. They even did
Weird.
the whole endoscope thing, like putting a camera down your throat.
Oh wow.
Oh, so you deep throated a camera.
Oh damn shit!
Yeah, I
So
did.
how was
I
the
did.
experience?
I was unconscious, so
I'll tell you what though, like this isn't a pissing contest, but I have deep throated a camera while wholly awake. Because I did not once I didn't once sedate. Okay, so what happened was, right, I had some really weird gut things going on. I was like, I don't know what the hell was going on, and they were like, it could be functional dyspepsia where your gut decides, okay, we have no real reason to act up, but we're just gonna do it. So there is medication for that sort of thing, but I'm just gonna stick a scope down your throat just to make sure that there's no weird the GERD causing bacteria or whatnot. So, but the same day that I had this procedure, I was supposed to meet friends as well on the same day, and I was like, I don't want to be sedated for it and then have to take forever to get there because otherwise people have to drive me, and I didn't have anything at the time to do that. So I was like, no, I'm just gonna do it with some numbing at the back of my throat and no sedation. So I was awake for the whole thing.
Oh
And
wow.
I could feel most of it. Yeah.
Oh
Was it
my
painful?
goodness.
It's really chonky. And so and because and obviously they can't exactly lubricate the thing because otherwise it'll mess with the lens. So
yeah, gosh, I
so
can imagine.
so your throat does get a little bit raw a little bit, like from the action of like them sticking
Like
it
tender.
and like just like a little bit tender, and it's normal. How I managed to enjoy my burger after that, I have no idea, but
But wait, it doesn't interfere with like breathing? Is it like
no, because you can breathe
No.
through your nose.
Yeah, you breathe through your nose.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
a
but-
different pipe. What?
yeah, but it's no, I just imagine like gagging while being conscious when that happens because it's like
Oh yeah.
I
bro,
mean-
like
Yeah, you could. I don't know how I managed it, but it was like it felt long and it didn't at the same time. Like by the time it was like over, I was like, oh yeah, okay.
I mean,
But how long does it
Lazarus,
usually take?
things can go
Yeah.
in and out from 2 different holes at the same time. It's not that bad.
well.
Wait,
How long was the whole procedure though?
It was
Going
only a
back to our
few minutes.
previous question.
Basically,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It was basically the scope, the camera that they like saw, and then at the same time, like they can insert like a little bit like a grabby kind of hook, so they can like just yoink a bit of tissue out from your gut.
Oh wow!
oh
Like, they
gosh.
just yoink it out. Like there's no like.
It's a little bit. It's basically it's the same as a biopsy, really.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see.
So they just yoink. They yoink a few cells out. Like I say a few cells because you can't see. Then that's not really the case because you
Yeah,
can't
it's
see
just-
cells with the naked eye. So they yoink a little bit of tissue out just to get enough cells to like do like the test with, just to make sure that it's not like GERD or some weird like bacteria, like cancerous bacteria or whatever, cancerous
Mhm,
thing or
mhm.
whatever, or like
it's like a swab test, but from like
Your
But
gut.
more intense.
inside you.
it's
Yeah.
not really a swab test because they actually have to take tissue out because a swab
Oh.
a swab test is like just it's a lot gentler on you, okay, even though if it doesn't feel like it because it's violating your nostrils, but
I find it okay. I'll be honest. The camera going down my throat feels better than something going inside my nose because
Oh, okay.
things
Well-
aren't supposed to go in your nose like that.
yeah, for sure.
But
Yeah.
things
Not
going
wrong,
down your
not
throat is
wrong.
like a very common thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You eat every day. Well,
Oh Lord. Sorry, you were saying?
Anyway, no.
No,
I mean, like, anyways, what about you two? What's like your worst hospitalization or worst sickness?
Lazarus, you wanna go first?
I can go first, Kaja.
Okay. It wasn't really. I've never really been hospitalized. I like from young. I've just never really gone to the hospital. Like sometimes I do if it gets really bad, but if I'm just sick, I sleep it off and usually I'm fine. But probably like the most recent case of me being really really sick, like to the point where like okay, yeah, I'm gonna remember this for like a couple of years. Was when I got like the stomach flu. Like besides the usual like
Mm.
food poisoning stuff that goes on. I think the worst part of it was the cramps. Like I was borderline, I could not move without feeling like really, really in pain. So, and that was recent too. So like instead of doing
Wow.
anything, I just really, I couldn't get up. I couldn't like really walk around without feeling like I needed to like curl up into a ball and just lie on the floor.
Ooh.
So I'd say that's probably like my worst health experience. Pretty fortunate, I will say. Like out of all the other things that could have happened, this is my worst thing.
Mm.
But going back to that like nose topic, I mean, actually, like should I share? I've snorted salt before. Which it's not, it's not like a pleasant experience.
Bruh.
It's very abrasive. Yeah, no, I was a stupid kid. I was like probably like 11, and like we were at a McDonald's, and I was holding the McDonald's salt packet, and like I had a straw from my like cup of Pepsi. So I was like, wait, what does it feel like? I'm kind of curious. I'm never gonna experience this because I don't want to get into that stuff, But I have salt and I have a straw. I have what I have.
Well, how old were you?
I was 11. I'm sorry.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
That shouldn't have been the case, but it was what it was, and now I know what it feels like to have salt like deep in your nose. I don't recommend it. Do not try it. But yeah, pretty much that was my experience. Lazarus?
Wow.
Okay, we talk about
just give me a moment to process that. You basically did.
you just snorted salt. Things can sound very different if you depending on context. Right?
Bro, like this was like straight up like salt. Like it was actually really, really abrasive. And like
It's- Yeah, I mean, and when it dissolves because it like draws out water, it's like
yes.
yeah.
water.
Oh.
Oh my
Okay.
god.
Occasion is more likely to take drugs among all of us now.
I mean,
She has
sodium.
the trial
Okay,
experience.
okay, like sodium is hell of a drug. It's very addictive. I didn't know that it possessed you to go this far.
Wait, is it actually addictive?
Yes.
Oh yes.
What?
I mean,
You're
salt,
lucky.
man,
You're
right?
also lucky that your nose is like dry at that time.
I can only imagine what it'd be like if like I was actually having like a bit of a stuffed blocked nose.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Because sodium and water goes very, very well.
Well, I mean, it's salt water.
Yeah, that's true.
No. Sodium, not not
Oh
sodium
yeah,
chloride. Sodium.
Okay, I didn't
Oh.
brain that for a moment there. Yeah,
I
okay.
see.
Because
That's fair.
Because of chemistry, sheesh.
Ooh,
Yeah.
chemistry. I was in art stream. Oh, question mark.
I couldn't get enough of like our teacher dropping like a bit of like lithium or sodium inside the water in the fume chamber and us just looking at the flames.
Oh, those
Yeah.
those looks hella cool.
It's so cool.
Bright lights make me go happy.
Yep.
It's flames! Woohoo! Happy flames.
Yeah, but like for me, I don't think I have had like a very bad cases. I think there's only once that I was like rushed to the hospital in the middle of the night when there was an asthma attack when I was about 17 or 16-ish. But it wasn't serious. It's just like going there and then they had me on the inhaler for a while and it was fine. It's just but I think like when I felt sick, the ones that I felt really bad is that one time where I just told you guys just now that when I had a viral infection that felt worse than COVID. Yeah, so actually what happened for me to get that viral infection was my friend was sick and she was like, oh, don't eat my food, I was sick, I'm recovering. And how bad could it be? You're out here like chilling with us, it's not like a big deal. Then I just like had the rest of her fried rice. Okay, then the next day I got hit like a truck, man. Like
That's
the
what happened to me.
headaches,
Oh my god.
fevers, sore throats, everything like
You
that. And I
deserve
was
that. You deserve that.
yeah, and I was like out for like a week and a half, and like I had my friend from church to bring me to the clinic down the road because it was so bad. Like once I was like, help me, and it was like 4 years ago. So I was like, I was out of commission for like a week and a half, literally worse than my COVID experience.
I can only imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was reminded when Lazarus said like your friend had to fetch you to hospital.
Oh no, clinic.
Clinic. Because this kind of happened to me once when actually this is not private anymore. I think I talked about this quite a couple of times. So this was when I was dating my current girlfriend for about a year or less. I think Acacia is familiar with this situation, but maybe not the backstory. What happened was she called me over because she's making lunch and she's like frying some fish. And so I drove over and I called like my girlfriend and said, oh, I'm already here. Can you open the door for me? And she was like not answering. I had to call a couple of times. And then when she called back, she was crying and she told me like she burnt her thighs with the oil from the frying.
Oh.
And it was like a huge patch also. So long story short, I went over, I saw the patch and I saw like dog barking and everything. I saw the scene, it was like quite bad. And I had to like call the mom, and then her mom had to like fetch us to the hospital. Because I don't know which is the best hospital for her. So we brought her to the hospital. She was hospitalized for a couple of days.
Oh gosh.
Actually, quite a while. Because it was like, I think it's almost a 3rd degree burn. Almost. Was it? I can't remember.
I'm surprised.
But it's enough. It's enough to give you a permanent patch.
Man, that is.
Yeah.
It sounds really painful. Yeah.
It's very, very painful. From what she says, it's like very, very painful. But I was like panicking like mad when it happened. Because, partially because I felt like I was responsible for it.
Oh.
Because that happened because she wanted to cook for me. So I mean, it's all in the past now. But it's like the patch is not as visible anymore. But that was like one of those most panic hospital situations I've been in.
Oh no!
Can you imagine, man?
It's very scary for once, but when it happens to your loved ones, that's like even scarier. Like, can you imagine if your loved ones had that situation and you were like, you're at that scene? It's like they are panicking, and you need to do your best to be as calm as possible to calm your significant other.
Yeah.
So,
but at the same time, like the scene in front of you is still kind of like
yeah. So
So you want to freak out too?
I had to do my best to like just keep calm because things is already panicking. The dog was barking like mad. I had to shout at the dog to tell him to shut up. And then he shut up. And then yeah, it was really scary.
Seems like it was really, really hectic. Like, I think in this situation, like, I don't think much could have been helped. What happened, you know? It'd be like that sometimes, I guess.
I mean, you do look back and just think like things could have I could have done something better. I could have like done this and that, but it's an experience. Like I will never I hope I will never experience again. But you know, if it happened, it happened. And we all at this point we're all making jokes about it already. Like she will want to just say, I would say, damn, I'm like stomach damn pain, and then she would just talk back, well, but you never have any as bad as mine during that time. I'm like, okay, I get it.
Oh, question mark? Oh, pain? Question mark?
Imagine having pain just from a stomach ache. Have you had oil on your legs before?
Like,
and then everyone in the hall just shut up. Okay.
Pain, like just having your hand over like a pot of boiling water is already extremely uncomfortable. I cannot imagine having oil like on your raw skin. That's actually really, really scary.
It was like enough oil to have fried a salmon fish, like a big chunky boy. So it was really bad. Yeah, it's a lot.
She's okay now though, right? Like
yeah.
Like, no lasting.
It's been there's definitely a lasting mark already. That one it's cannot not recoverable. But it's good. Like but sometimes. From now when I look at it, it's like you can, if you just one glance, you probably couldn't see it anymore. So it's actually quite okay already. Also, it's at a part of the thigh where it's like usually hidden by the pants or skirt. So
no, I'm just imagining like yeah, it's pretty wild and all, but I imagine like let's just say if I were to like get like a burn like this, like would my skin look like it would be edible?
Wait, no, I don't think it. I think it would.
No, bro. I thought things was going to go a bit more grim, but not this weird. What do you mean your skin is edible?
No, I mean like because like you know, I mean like putting aside like the horrific scene. I mean just that when you get like because it's enough, like the temperature of the oil is hot enough to like cook something, or even if it's just for a moment. So like for a split second there, imagine if it's like you know, just like synthetic human flesh. Would it be edible? After just like
I'm gonna tell her what you said. And
no, I'm just a completely hypothetical scenario, not like from but yeah.
It's kind of, but don't ask me how I know, but apparently like burnt human flesh actually smells a bit like burning plastic, and apparently it's not pleasant. So
okay,
burning plastic. I thought I heard that it was more like
poisonous.
I thought it was more like meat, from what I remember hearing, like chicken.
Kind of, I'm not sure because like one time I kind of burned my thumb and I could smell something that was kind of weird. I did not like it. Like when I smelled my thumb, it was really, really bad. Like I was like, wait, that's not me, is it? You know, so I went to like Google it. And sorry?
Is it because of the oil you use? Or
no.
Like, have you used the oil for something else?
It was oil that was heating up prior to being used.
Okay.
It could just be polymerized and all that. Yeah.
It could be. But at the same time, when I Googled it, apparently like based on a lot of course, this isn't like professional opinion. This is just people who say that they were firefighters. They say that like the smell is kind of similar to burning plastic. It's also kind of not really describable. It's generally not something you want to experience. So it's like, ooh, like whoa.
I feel like when firefighters say that burning like skin smells like plastic, I think it's because of their situation where they save people in burning houses or whatever. In that case, I can understand about burning plastic.
Yeah.
But if you're saying cooking oil,
Question mark.
The first Google search I've got says that burning muscle tissue gives off an aroma similar to beef in a frying pan.
Ew.
All right, this talk has gone to the point.
Okay, it's alright. Just stick to your normal meats, guys. Don't eat human flesh.
Yeah.
PSA for whatever.
Wait, actually, I am a bit curious about like when it comes to coffee, because prior to like starting like this thing, Lazarus, you mentioned that you had like some friends who were kind of sensitive to coffee. Like what do they usually go through when it comes to like them
Okay,
having caffeine?
somehow, I mean, it's not like, I think they just get a little bit more like jittery-ish. But the thing is that when they have like a caffeine in the afternoon or in the evening, right, they will not be able to sleep at night.
Ah, I see,
Yeah.
I see. Straight up, like even when it comes to like tea and stuff, because I know green tea has a bit of like caffeine in
Yeah,
it, right?
but only the heavier ones, the teas with like more caffeine inside.
I
Yeah,
see, I see.
it was like, wow,
Nice.
like, because for the most part, I'm much like, I think Aza as well, right? You're not really affected by caffeine as often, right?
No. I don't think I'm like a really caffeine person. It's just in the morning. I want to drink something with that coffee taste. I just want to drink
Uh,
coffee.
yeah, and
I will drink tea, but I don't have like teh tarik at home. So
yeah, I'm the sort of guy that like 8 out of 10 times after I drink coffee or tea, I would still be able to sleep. Like, it's only the rare 2 out of 10 times where I like, oh, I'm like, let's not sleep. Let's go do some shit at night at 4 a.m. yo. But that's very rare.
What about right now though? Sorry.
Sorry, what about? Sorry,
Uh,
what?
You mentioned you were like
Caffeine.
also kind of sensitive to caffeine. Are you comfortable like sharing it?
Oh yeah, well, I don't know how exactly like it happens, but then like usually if I try not to like, have caffeine like at least after like 12, unless it's maybe some like matcha or like mild green tea, because in coffee there's quite a lot of caffeine.
Mm.
I also do like, I mean, I'm really into like my hand brewing and all that, so
Oh yeah.
all that sort of stuff. Well, I mean, doesn't come like without repercussions, but it's so funny, like I like the aroma of coffee. I love the process of hand brewing. I love like, you know, giving it to people. I can't drink so much of it though, like, well, I'm pretty much one and done.
You like
Yeah.
making and basically just, hey guys, here you
Yeah.
go, some cups.
Pretty much.